Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
Nope. My name is Mike Piwowarski. I am your co-host from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on The Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news. Craig, it's a very special day.
Oh, yes, it is. It is Hump Day!
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
It's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
That's right, folks. This is the day where we attempt to begin the weekend. Sometimes we are successful, sometimes we are not. But hey, it's all
right.
in the effort, isn't it?
Here, let me have a sip of my water.
Excellent. Any special plans for this week's Hump Day?
Let's see. No.
No, not really.
I
Not really.
got one of those weekends where I don't have to travel anywhere, so it'll probably be me looking at the grass this weekend. And I'm talking about my yard for all you people in California, not the other kind of grass. So just looking at it, going, I should probably cut that.
Should probably cut that.
Let me ask you this, Craig, before we get into the actual news and stuff like that. At this gathering I had this weekend, we got lawns came up talking about doing yard work, and I said I had to delay doing my yard work by 2 hours. And the guy said, "Why, rain?" I said, "No, Die Hard came on." He's like, "Oh, I get it." And we all agreed on we all have 5 or 6 movies that no matter what time of day it comes on, no matter what you're doing, you're stopping and you're watching it. So my question to you is,
especially if
what's 2 or 3 of yours?
If you happen to walk by the TV and you see it, you're like, okay, I've got to stop and watch this.
Yes.
Probably number 1 on my list is We Were Soldiers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Definitely always have to stop and watch that one.
Right,
depending on where it is, like if it's on live and depending on where it is in the movie Sabotage, because there's a chase scene with Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's a chase scene that's in it that is just epic.
Right.
So if it's near that chase scene, got to stop and watch.
Okay.
Heat.
Okay.
Heat is another one.
Okay. I mean, I respect that you have those kind of movies, but our genres are completely different. It's just, I'm like, oh look, Die Hard, or Stripes, The Replacements, Top Gun, Smokey and the Bandit, those are my kind of ones. But if we walk past and they're on, we're watching. Oh, number 1, My Cousin Vinny. Yeah, if My Cousin Vinny's on,
that one isn't it. Okay, so My Cousin Vinny sneaks up on you because you don't think about it until you see it, and then when you see it, you have to keep watching.
Yes. Yeah. Identical.
Right. The Utes. The what? Utes. Did you say Utes? Yes, sir. I'm sorry. 2 youths.
How many fingers am I holding up? Let the court show he's holding up 4. Your Honor. Yep. Yeah, I grew up with those people. On both sides.
No. Oh, you think I'm hostile now? Those of you who have not watched My Cousin Vinny, I know that none of those jokes make any sense to you, but you have to watch it.
Yeah, you must.
You most definitely must. And so, by the way, for those of you who are like, hey, guys, just get to the news. So let me tell you kind of how this works. See, with live feeds, it takes about 2 minutes before the largest percentage of people who are watching actually are tuned in. So if you start off with, just jumping right into it, guess what? A lot of people miss the most important stories. So we like to give them a little bit of padding. So that's why we banter in the beginning. For those of you who are wondering,
I can't focus that quick, so we've got to work our way into it.
It's like focus.
Oh, focus.
Look, if you ever had somebody, if you know somebody or spend time with somebody who's got like a wandering eye, the eyes, kind of go different directions.
What are you talking
That's
about?
a tool. You go like this, you go like this, you go. And then they'll both look at you. Both eyes will then be pointed at you. So that's what we got. That's what I have to do for Mike mentally every day, every afternoon.
Listen, I used to have a first sergeant in the Army who had a wandering eye, but it was only like in the afternoons when he got tired. And so he'd come over and yell at us in the afternoons, and we weren't sure if he was talking to us or the guys. We were like,
It's like,
what?
excuse
Who are
me,
you talking to?
sir, exactly who are you yelling at, sir?
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
All right, folks. Hey, just real quick, make sure, like, share, subscribe, however you're watching us. Encourage your friends to do the same. See? Cut that nice and short for you.
Do that.
All right, let's get into today's news. Between the Supreme Court rulings on the Second Amendment, on the right to bear arms outside of the home, as well as the Supreme Court's decision on Dobbs, I've stopped referring to it as Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade is no longer law of the land. It's now Dobbs. Dobbs is what we're going to call it now, because that's what it's now based on. But Democrats basically have lost their utter minds, and they're going after SCOTUS in the worst kinds of ways. Here's an example. Here's just one example of the outrageousness that we're hearing from the radical left following the Supreme Court decisions.
You think the House Judiciary Committee should begin the process of an investigation there?
If we allow Supreme Court nominees to lie under oath and secure lifetime appointments to the highest court of the land, and then issue without basis, if you read these opinions, issue without basis rulings that deeply undermine the human and civil rights of the majority of Americans, we must see that through. There must be consequences for such a deeply destabilizing action and hostile takeover of our democratic institutions.
Okay. I just, there in so many different ways, I just have an issue with what she had to say. The first thing is to say that it had absolutely no basis when anybody who understands constitutional law will tell you that there really was no foundational basis for the constitutional right to an abortion. Am I wrong?
You are not wrong. You are not wrong. It's I don't know. We can go so many different ways on this. Remember Alex, the bartender? That's who every time I see when I see her talking. Yeah, she clearly has never studied government before or how government works. This whole impeachment of Supreme Court justices. That's show me that in the Constitution. She was asked, or she stated that Gorsuch and Kavanaugh said that when asked about Roe v. Wade, they said that it was settled case law. There was nothing to discuss on it, and it was at the time. It's 100%. It was settled case law at the time. Well, guess what happens? New things develop, new presentation, new evidence, new discovery, whatever else. Again, otherwise we'd be stuck with Plessy v. Ferguson, right? We'd all be separate but equal, and she wouldn't be in the Supreme Court because she'd be separate somewhere else, as a minority. So, she wouldn't be allowed to vote if it was all settled without new information being allowed. She's lost it. She's up there inciting violence is what she's doing. And Craig, I really believe she needs a set of silver bracelets and a couple of nights at the Gray Bar Motel to tone down not even her rhetoric. She's calling for violence.
Well, what's funny is that if you read the actual decision, they made it very clear, and this is in direct contradiction to what she had to say. This is Alito writing. It says, "We therefore hold that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey must be overruled, and the authority to regulate abortion must be returned to the people and their elected representatives. The inescapable conclusion is that the right to abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions. On the contrary, an unbroken tradition of prohibiting abortion on pain of criminal punishment persisted from the earliest days of the common law until 1973. The point that he made here was the one, there's no constitutional right, but the people, via their government and their elected representatives, have a right to decide. Now, maybe it's just me, but she talks about this, an attack on democratic institutions. That is taking this issue and handing it over to those democratic institutions to regulate and decide on, as opposed to an autocratic, authoritarian, tyrannical decision that was Roe v. Wade and Casey.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely right. Look, again, they talk about history and tradition, and Alito went out with the rest of the court and said, look, from the birth of our nation until 73, the history and tradition was abortions were illegal and people were afraid to have an abortion because they'd be committing a crime. There's your history. Okay. And the only reason that this was changed in 73 was because of political pressure. And we're not that court. We're not going to bow to political pressure.
Right. In other words, you had the right to be able to they were regulating. The point was that they were regulating. There's always been a history, as long as abortion has been a thing, there's always been the people's right to regulate it. And what Roe did was remove that ability to regulate it. Anyway, but once again, so not only did she lie about all that, but once again, she's calling for impeachment. What the heck is that? But Mike, she's not even the worst. She's not even the worst of it. Here you have our good friend. Well, you know who she is from Chi-Town. She had some choice words for Justice Thomas.
Yeah.
We know what happened with the Supreme Court yesterday. And if you read Clarence Thomas' concurrence, he said, "Thank you, fuck Clarence Thomas."
Fuck you, Clarence Thomas!
He thinks we are going to stand idly by when they take our rights, our right to marry, our right to have children, our right to...
All right. So in other words, first of all, if the right to quote unquote abortion is not the right to have children, it's the right to kill your child in the womb. Let's be clear. It's exactly what it is. It's the right to end the life of a child in the mother's womb. So it's not the right to have a child, right? But now she's going on and saying, well, we're going to take away marriage and you're going to take away this. No, all he said was that the way in which Roe was decided was not based in law and in history, but by the way, because the sort of foundation was used that was used to determine Roe and Casey were wrong, because by the way, in all of those cases, they looked to Roe and Casey as examples. What he's saying is we got to take a look at all these. He's not saying we're going to change them, we're going to overturn them, but we should probably take a look at them because the foundation was faulty in Roe and Casey. We may have problems with these other rulings.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. And then, this isn't a crusade to take away women's rights. Is that's what we're hearing. First, you take away my right, my constitutional right, which is nowhere in the Constitution, to have an abortion. Then you're going to take away more women's rights. It's our right to vote. It's our right to have gay marriage, which is not just a women's right, by the way. There's probably men involved there too, but they don't seem to understand that. But they're talking about taking away all of these other rights, and nobody said taking away other rights. Said, hey, we may have to do a judicial review on this based on the findings of this. It's like when you find a flaw, Craig. It's the same example I'll give you if when you see on the TV shows where the police detective gets arrested for dealing drugs, then they go back and they look at all his cases, right? Well, that's the same thing, right? If they found faulty methodology, now they get to go back and say, hold on, this was looked at through faulty methodology. We may need to re-examine this.
Exactly. Well, and that's the point that they don't seem to understand. And even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, while she still believed that abortion should be a constitutionally protected right, even she disagreed with. She was like, "This is not the best foundation. The right to privacy is not the best foundation upon which where this decision should be made." That's just. I mean, even she agreed that it was a fault, that it was a faulty rationale and faulty reasoning. But hey, none of that really matters because, well, hey. They just want to, once again, these are anarchists. These are people who They want to tear down the system. And even if it had been decided in their direction and Clarence Thomas said the exact same thing, they would still want to throw him out. They would still want to throw out the Supreme Court because, well, you know, they want their job is their goal is to overthrow the system.
Craig, I think you're giving them too much credit with anarchists. They are spoiled, whiny children. They're going to cry and kick and scream until they get their way. That's what this is. And we've got a couple more examples we'll get into a little bit later on this, but that's all this is. We're going to keep doing what we want. Me.
Right. Well, because emotion is all they have because the facts and law are not on their side.
Correct.
One example has to do, well, it comes out of the state of California. You guys know that's where I currently reside. But it comes out of the state of California. So days after the Bruin ruling, which basically removed good cause or the requirement for you to have a reason to be able to possess a firearm outside of your home, there was a major data breach in the state of California at the Attorney General's office. Now, for some reason, they were creating this portal, and I don't really know what the point of this portal was. But they created, the California Attorney General's office created this portal where there was a bunch of different information that was available, including the data, the information, personal information, home address, types of firearms that were going to be carried of those who had concealed carry permits in the state of California. And I gotta tell you, it is really scary. Data and information is still coming out about it, but supposedly the entire thing was available for up to 24 hours, right? 24 hours. People had access, for example, to dealer record of sales, gun violence restraining order, concealed carry weapon permits and applications, firearm safety certificates, meaning anyone who purchased a firearm in California had to get one of those certificates. Assault weapons, so anyone had a registered assault weapon in the state of California, as well as a roster of certified handguns, or those handguns that are on the not unsafe handgun roster. Now, Mike, in so many different ways, I find this to be dangerous in the state of California. And quite frankly, I don't believe it. I don't believe it's a coincidence.
Now, Craig, this was completely accidental. And any perception that this came out in retaliation is purely coincidental.
Right. Yeah. I'd rather wear a tinfoil hat on this one. I'm sorry.
Yep. Remember, shiny side out. Shiny side out.
Shiny side out. Oh, darn.
Yep.
Well.
Yep. If you wear shiny side in, it keeps the bad thoughts in. Shiny side out reflects them away. So, yeah.
But I keep thinking about, okay, so now you've created an opportunity for people to be, for lack of a better term, swatted in the state of California. Because what they do when they issue a red flag order, they also issue a gun seizure warrant, which means they get to come to your house, and by the way, they come in full tactical gear, ready to do damage in the event that you should resist.
Yeah. And shoot your dog. Yeah. I get it, Craig. Listen, this is purely a lie, right? We know that we know this was let out on purpose. We know this was let out to harass legitimate Second Amendment responsible gun owners. We know that, but it'll never be proven. Just like all the other things that governors do, Clintons, it'll never be proven at all. Unfortunately, they're going to have to deal with it. I would sue the asses off of California and make them pay. Yep, that's going to come out of everybody else's pocket because that's how they pay the lawsuits, was with tax dollars. But at some point, there's got to be a lesson to be learned, and I hope these people that have been victim of this accidental air quotes leak, they're punished severely.
Oh, most definitely. I'm already I've already reached out because this is something, by the way, it's brand new. I'm already talking to folks. I'm like, look, hey, how do I get on a class action lawsuit? Because you've now put my information out there, and you've now put me and my family at risk. If you can't create, first of all, the state of California, once again, the home of Silicon Valley, every single time they try to do anything technology based, they screw it up.
Yeah.
There's
So
absolutely
true,
no
right?
doubt they screw it up every single time.
Yeah.
But this now puts people's it puts real people at risk. And by the way, I would not be surprised, and I have no doubt that that when this happened, that someone inside knew it was going to happen, and they made sure that there were people on the outside. Because, by the way, you don't have access to that data anymore. It's now unavailable. But for the 24 hours that it was available, I'm sure that someone was on the ready and drew down all of that information.
Yeah. Yeah, the internet's a great
There's
thing.
not a
It's gonna
doubt
make
in
the
my
world a
mind
better
that
place.
happened.
The world's going to be a much better place with the internet. It's going to be wonderful. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless Skynet did this on purpose to try and get their guns taken from them.
Quite possibly. I mean, Skynet has attacked your computer.
Well, yeah, it's called Rendezvous, but that's all right.
Yeah, Skynet. Yes, I do have Skynet on my computer, and it does control Mike's computer. So anytime
It
there's
does. I can sit here with my hands right here and all of a sudden look down and be like, oh, look, the settings changed again. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. It's crazy. And then Craig's computer starts humming from the extra power. It's so strange.
But all right, so moving right along. Well, we also know, Mike. So this is just one example of how some states are actually resisting the 2A changes. There's an
Dobbs.
article here, Mike, that Mikey sent over from Hawaii, where basically they're still like, well, yeah, they haven't changed anything. They're not going to change anything, at least not right up front. And so nobody really knows exactly how the laws are going to change. Now, it's almost impossible to get a concealed carry permit in Hawaii. In fact, it's the one state where I've never met anyone who has a concealed carry permit for Hawaii. Now, I don't know a lot of people from Hawaii, but the people that I do know, I don't know any who actually have been able to obtain a concealed carry permit. But right now, there's no real plans to change. I mean, Mike, even the state of California decided they issued to all of their sheriffs, yeah, I'm sorry, you have to remove good cause requirement from all of your applications.
Listen, how bad is it in Hawaii that to get a firearm? I know people from Hawaii that moved to California so they could get guns. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
pretty.
That's how bad it is, folks.
That's pretty darn bad. But then you have the case in Louisiana where a federal judge
Yeah.
put an injunction on theirs, basically just saying, yeah, no, we're going to put an injunction on this. No, was that Roe v. Wade?
No, that was Roe v. Wade. But again, this is resistance to what's come out of the Supreme Court.
Right.
It doesn't matter
Resistance
to
to
me if
what's
it's the Dobbs case or the New York State Rifle Pistol Association case.
That's right.
They're
They put
the supreme law of the land, and here you have Hawaii doing the. First off, Craig, they got it wrong. Bring that title back up again. In no part of this of Dobbs does it talk about the open carry of firearms. And of course, fate of Hawaii's gun law still unclear following Supreme Court's open carry ruling. Did you remember? Was there open carry? Do you remember open carry being in there at all?
No, it was the right to carry a firearm outside of the home. But now there is a case specifically dealing with open carry. It's the Young case that has yet to be decided by the Supreme Court, but we know what direction that one is going to go.
Yeah, that's a minor case. There's somebody else referred to it as a possible landmark case. That's a minor case, what we're talking about there, especially compared to this. But
the reason why...
So here you have...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The reason why it's an issue is because in the Ninth Circuit, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that you don't have a right to conceal carry and you don't have a right to open carry. That was the reason why this decision was so important, because they were like, so if I don't have a right to open carry and I don't have a right to conceal carry, how exactly do I bear arms outside of the home? Or do I have that right? And now we know, yes, you do.
Yes. Yeah. So, again, but Hawaii, they have the state police there have said, yeah, we're going to look at maybe making some changes because we saw again from the Supreme Court, they said it must be shall issue. Well, but it can be shall issue with restrictions, right?
Right.
Like you have to do a background check. You can't be a convicted felon. So this is what they immediately proposed. Okay. Well, we're going to require all people that have a firearms permit. They have to go through the identical training that police officers go through. So they're going to come up with an 80-hour training block. So
well, the other thing the other thing that they could do is they could ban concealed carry and require open carry.
Which would work for me. I'd be all right with that, especially in Hawaii. You ever try and concealed carry in Hawaii? It's like concealed carry in Florida, It's kind of warm here.
So gun smells a little musty.
That's because I carry it bandito style. butt crack, So
By the way, speaking of that, I've watched all of these crime movies where the guy just takes a gun and sticks it in his waistband in the back. When I was first into guns, and I would try to, and I don't understand how the hell does that gun stay there?
Well, it's got to be a 1911. It's perfectly balanced to do so. It's got the weight. It's got to be a 1911. Yeah,
got to be a 1911.
Not a commander with a short slide. It's got to be.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. I always found that to be odd, but folks, states are going to resist, which is, by the way, why you need to be supporting groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition, like the Second Amendment Foundation, groups that are going to be spending time fighting legislation, but also fighting in the courts as they resist, because that's what's going to happen. There's going to be a few years of they're going to come up with some crazy laws, and we're going to have to fight them in court, and they're going to lose. But it's going to take time. And it's going to take money.
Hawaii. Oh, we're going to have a restriction on his first round in Hawaii. We're going to have a restriction. It's going to be 80 hours to 100 hours worth of gun training you're going to have to get.
And it's also going to be, they're going to,
that's going to immediately be overturned as overly unduly burdensome.
Well, they're also going to look at good moral character, and they're going to start looking at things like your social media posts. And if you say anything mean or angry or hateful or anti-government, they're going to use that as an excuse.
They can't now because that's subjective. Okay.
They're going to. My point is, they're going to try.
Oh, they're going to try. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. I agree with you. They, once again, keep in mind when they're looking at this ruling, they're not going to be looking at it from the objective. Okay, what did they actually say? What they're looking at it, they're looking at it from the perspective: what can I get away with? I want to restrict the right to bear arms as much as I can. Right? What can I possibly get away with?
And that's what I don't get yet. And maybe we'll get there to this country. Hopefully, when we get some Captain Florida, Trump style leadership back in office again somewhere, where these people won't be allowed to get a free pass for the rhetoric of making violent threats, the flat out saying, I'm going to violate my oath and create a law that I know to be unconstitutional, that these people should be getting relieved from office and be put in jail. That's exactly what should be going on in Hawaii
I think
now.
Violation of the
General.
Yes.
The Attorney General should be on the phone to Hawaii and go, hey, I know you're talking about raising it to 80 hours. Just so you know, if you do that, I'm going to put you in jail, because it clearly says in the latest ruling, don't do this, don't do that. We spent 10 years watching you try and get around it. And if you do it again, you're going to be in trouble. And that's where we need to get to. I'm not talking about, brown shirts running around smacking people down because they don't like it. But when the Supreme Court tells you something, and then the day after that, you're some judge in Louisiana who says, well, I still don't like abortion, so I'm going to grant an injunction. You lose your job. You should lose your damn job.
Think about it, Mike. Now, you've worked for people before. If your boss, the CEO, says, or the board says, this is company policy, this is the way things will be done, and then you turn around, explicitly do the exact opposite, how long do you keep that job?
Zero time. Zero time.
You're fired. Yeah. Only in government service do you get to keep your job. And not only that, Your employer is forced to defend you in court. They're forced to use their resources to defend you in court.
Yeah.
No, forget that guy. Sorry.
You are
Done. No
F
more
that
resist.
guy.
Right. So, Kamala Harris, our studious, our illustrious vice president, she has a new word salad. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch this, but after the ruling on Roe v. Wade, she sat down with CNN and did an interview to talk about kind of her immediate reactions, where she was at and what she was doing, and kind of like her immediate reactions regarding the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, mind you, the first like 2 to 3 minutes of answering this question, because it was a real simple question. It was, what did you think when you heard it was overturned? First, she spent the first 2 minutes talking about, all the people who were on the plane. Now, I don't know why she spent 2 to 3 minutes on it. I won't bore you guys with that. But I will let you hear the new word salad that she put out there relating to this decision.
The court actually took a constitutional right that has been recognized for half a century and took it from the women of America. That's shocking when you think about it, in terms of what that means, in terms of democratic principles, in terms of the ideals upon which we were founded, about liberty, about freedom. I thought about it as, a parent. We have 2 children who are in their 20s, a son and a daughter. I thought about it as a godparent of teenagers. I thought of it as an aunt of preschool children.
And a woman yourself.
And a woman myself. And the daughter of a woman. And a granddaughter of a woman. And, my husband and I are actually talking about it. We have a 23-year-old, and my mother-in-law's in her 80s. Our daughter will not know the rights for the amount of time that my mother-in-law knew these rights, which is the right that should be well settled, that a woman should have to make decisions about her own body. And when we think about it, everyone has something at risk on this. First of all, if you are a parent of sons, do think about what this means for the life of your son and what that will mean in terms of the choices he will have.
All right, Mike. Now, I'm going to raise this question. What the heck? First, we'll work backwards. What does that mean? Think about your son and the choices he will have.
Well, because your son, Craig, is the son of a son who's the son of a son.
And by the way, he's the nephew. He's the nephew of a man, and the grandson of a man.
She just said this. I'm the son of a son and the father of a grandson.
A great grandson of a son.
Father's son
of a man.
Baby Jesus with little 8-pound, 6-ounce baby. I don't know what she's lost her mind is what's going on.
No. You're assuming you cannot lose what you never had.
I'm sure she's told ahead of time. Hey, listen, they're going to give you a bunch of softball questions. This is a pro us kind of thing. So you don't have to spend any time really worrying about this. So she spent 0 freaking time worrying about any of this. And when they asked a simple question like, "So how's your day?" She blew it. She blew the answer. She blew the answer to how's your day going. And this is the most ridiculous response I've ever seen. It's just words, and we see this from her quite frequently. It's just words coming out of her mouth. It's like we used to call it the beach ball theory. I don't know if you ever had the beach ball theory. You would say something and you'd say something like, "Today's a good day. Oh, days are 24 hours long. Oh, long as my buddy from school. School has 8 hours in it." It's just it might be one word that might be related to the next sentence, but there was no tying any of the things she says together.
I've had times, and I will wholly admit this, where we're on and I'm talking and I'm focused on other things because I'm trying to, and I'll be talking and sometimes I'm like, Wait a minute. Do I actually know what I'm saying? Let me pay attention. Let me pay attention to what's going on in the conversation. But she's there for no other reason than to be interviewed, to answer these questions. And it's not like she didn't know that this question was coming.
Yes.
Now, once again, we go back to this undermining our democratic principles. Let me play this to you. Let me show this to you again. We therefore hold that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. Roe and Casey must be overruled, and the authority, let me say it again, the authority to regulate abortion must be returned to the people. Let me say that again. Returned to the people and their elected representative. It represents. What is more democratic than that?
Yeah.
What is more democratic than that?
We're gonna send it back down to you and your elected leaders, and it's up for you guys to decide and you guys to vote on it. This shouldn't be the court voting on this. That should be your state voting on this. Oh my God, you just banned it. Where did you hear me say I banned it?
No.
Where did that come in? It never happened.
Here's the deal. When something is not a constitutionally protected right, that means that your government gets a chance to make a decision. There are a lot of things in California that I hate that our government has decided. But guess what? They've decided. And eventually, if it gets to the point where I just can't handle it anymore, then guess what? I will cease to be a Californian, right? Until then, I'm going to fight against those decisions. And guess what? I'm going to do it at the ballot box by voting for and donating money to elected officials who are going to decide or who are going to make decisions that hopefully are decisions that are consistent with what my values are. That's how it works. And if I don't do it here, then you know what? Then maybe, then a lot of us, which by the way is happening, decide to leave. So if you don't like those decisions, go somewhere else.
That's it. That's really all it comes down to, right? I agree with you 100%. If you don't like it, get out. You got the chance now again. You're elected officials, you're representatives, and I get if you're in a red state or you're a blue state, pack your bags. Pack your bags. I know that's harsh. Oh, I can't afford to move. Well, that might be another problem we have with your state then, isn't it? Okay.
Or how about this? But Mike, here's the thing I'll say, because I'm one of those. California's my home. I was born here, and I'm not so quick and ready to give up on my home. But for those of you who are spending all your time complaining, my question is this: what are you doing to help unelect these tyrants? What are you doing to help elect people to the state legislature or to the city council or to the school board who believe what you believe and who think like you think? Because if you're not doing anything except posting on social media, then you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem.
Craig, let me say this to help you and all those others out there. And we talk about our home states. Listen, my home state's New York City. Boy, right here, city kid. But you know what? Florida is my home, and that's it. Craig, it's not that you love California, Craig. You love California in 1985, and that's gone, and you need to realize that.
No, because there's so much about California that I enjoy that has nothing to do with politics. That has nothing to do with what are the
loss
politics.
of your rights. The rolling blackouts.
No
firearms.
I don't suffer from I don't suffer from blackouts or brownouts.
Rates.
I don't suffer from mudslides. I don't suffer from
the governor because he
forest
took
fires.
so much money from you. He wants to give you some back now. So, you
Anyway.
love the California of the past, sir, not the present. Time to go.
Well, I'm also a firm believer that all we have to do is start changing the decisions that are made. And I'm not going to tell you that a time will not come when I'm like, all right, it's time to go. I'm just not there yet. I'm still willing to fight, because here's what will happen. If we completely give up places like California and New York, eventually what happens is, basically what's happening right now. The place becomes a pit, and what winds up happening is people who can't live the American dream here are going to go to places like Florida and Texas and Arizona and Washington and Nevada, and they're going to infect those places. If there's no battle going on here, it will be going on there.
Let me give you the military breakdown for you. Maybe this will help you. You're there fighting the fight. You're on the front lines. You're using direct fire at the enemy, okay? We're just saying, come to the other side of the border and start using artillery and indirect fire. you could still sit back and enjoy the pool rather than sleep in the foxhole every day. You could fight from afar. You don't have to be there to fight.
But the time will come eventually, though. You got to have boots on the ground. At a certain point in time, you got to have boots on the ground. I just prefer to be right now for this fight. I prefer to be boots on the ground.
Yeah, Craig, and you could do that 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks out of the year. That's when you could do
it. Hey, that is actually a possibility. Let me tell you. And the great thing about doing what I do is I can do it from anywhere, really, in the world. Well, let me clarify. In some places, I would probably be jailed and arrested for what I for what I do, which is speaking my mind. But and I can do it anywhere in the continental. I can do it anywhere in the United States.
Yep.
Anyway, with that, we're going to move ahead to our parting shots. The first one is really kind of consistent with a lot of our talk about the Second Amendment. Why don't you go ahead and describe this one for our listeners?
Oh, there's old Lloyd there from Dumb and Dumber with Mary. And he says, telling her, shh, when he puts his finger on her lips and says, no, don't say anything. But now he's putting his finger on her lips going, shh, it says shall not be infringed. So you have no argument. It says shall not be infringed. We don't need to go any further. Shall not be infringed.
I would love to do that with a bunch of anti-gunners if I weren't concerned that they would actually have me charged with battery just for touching their lips.
Well, you don't actually have to touch their face. Just do this. Do the whole right in front of their face. So it's like, shh, right in front. Shh. Say, shh, yeah, shh. Or the, shh.
Stop.
It says shall not be infringed. Yeah.
Right.
And then walk away. Hey, if you want, we can go over the Third Amendment next. We're done with the Second. We're done.
Nice. Now these next couple of memes have to do with you guys. There was actually a surprise hearing yesterday, January 6th hearing. Nobody knew it was going to happen, but there was this blockbuster testimony that was supposed to take place that was supposed to reveal the entire conspiracy to take over the government and undermine the government. And it had to do with supposedly Donald Trump wanting to. Well, Mike, why don't you go ahead and lay it out for folks, real quick?
Oh boy, just like you said, another secret hearing. If you take a look at this is all liberals, lefties asking questions.
Right.
If there's any Republicans here, it's not too hard to find that they were anti-Trump Republicans.
Right.
These were the swamp people that Trump wanted to get rid of. Remember, It had nothing to do with D or R when it came to emptying the swamp. It was just emptying the swamp. Well, these were people that got caught in the swamp draining, and now they come back and testify. And all of a sudden, there's some story that they tried to take over the White House limousine, with the president in it.
Right. Supposedly the president wanted to go to the Capitol riot when he got into his car, and they said, no, we don't have enough assets there. So we don't have enough assets there. We're going to take you back to the White House. He got upset and angry and reached for the steering wheel of the presidential limo and had to be restrained by Secret Service to keep them from taking him, to keep him from taking over the vehicle and driving to the January 6th Capitol riot. Now, this is in response to that. Someone sent this out, which pretty well explains that, just how exactly is it physically possible to grab the steering wheel from the sealed and armored side of the beast.
Yes.
So maybe we'll talk a little bit more about this and pull up the video for tomorrow's when we come on tomorrow. But I just felt like those were just wholly appropriate. Anyway, Mike, we are way over time. So let's go ahead and give a quick shout out so we can get up out of here.
Shall not be infringed. I love that one. Hey, let's say hello to our good friends at the USCombatGear.com. The California Republican Assembly, Grid Defense, and California Guerrilla Machining.
California Guerrilla Machining. No. Anyway,
California
folks.
Guerrilla Machining, yes.
Like we always say, check them out. If you like what you see there, kick them down some money and make sure you tell them the guys over at The Rundown sent you. With that, we're going to go ahead and call it a day because, well, it's been long. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and encourage your friends to do the same. We'll see you tomorrow on Thirsty Thursday.
Woo, woo.